addicted to? And what did this world do to you? What will it take to get you through? And how long has this had a hold on you?
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Addicted2. I'm here with Tara, and we're going to talk about what Tara wants to talk about.
Well, I think it's what Sean wants to talk about.
Well, that's true. Well, welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. So we talked about it. We had some technical difficulties on the last one, but we finally got you in the seat.
And I'm glad to be here for sure.
Nice. So I think the best thing would be to maybe just start out a little bit about your story, where you want to start it.
Well, I think my story is very similar to anybody who's listening or who might be thinking about, should I, shouldn't I, or anything like that. Like most people who have some kind of issue with drugs or alcohol, it starts early. And it did for me as well, right? And so, I thought very, very well that I was a functioning alcoholic, right? A highly functioning alcoholic. Highly functioning. I had a good job. I have my family. I, got through school. I'm at the pinnacle of my career, all of those kinds of things, accomplished a lot. And
can I ask what you do?
Yeah, I'm actually the CFO for an oil and gas company.
Oh.
So I'm in accounting and finance. And it's a really demanding job. And the irony of what I do, when I got my letters, so when I became a chartered accountant, I've got friends and family. My brother actually, not sponsored, but he asked me if this is really what I wanted to do, because he was like, take a look around, do I look happy? And I said, no. And when I was going through school, it's like everybody is in this profession are alcoholics, literally in my head, alcoholics, and they have to be masochists because this is a painful profession. Why would anybody choose to do this?
Well, why is it so painful?
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, you got to produce for sure.
Right. And there is definitely a culture of drugs and alcohol in the profession, for sure. My kind of assumption of this idea that they're all alcoholics who are masochists wasn't far off, because you socialize with drinking. You have dinners and everybody is drinking. You make deals typically while drinking, right? So it's
large expense accounts.
It can be, but it's definitely a culture of that. And, you work, I think everybody who's in the profession, we work hard and we play hard. Well, that was absolutely true, right? And because it's so acceptable and is really part of kind of what the profession is. And that's not to say that everybody is, but you go for a business meeting, and how often would you do that where you wouldn't have a drink? And people I knew were addicted to drugs and alcohol.
Stampede was predicated on oil
100%,
and gas.
100%, right? Exactly. So it's, you find a lot of highly functioning alcoholics in the profession who go out drinking the night before and show up to work and get their stuff done. It really is that work hard, play hard. But the problem for me is that the play hard was getting in the way of the work hard. When I decided to quit drinking, I was able to drink an obscene amount just to feel the effects. And we're talking 4 bottles of wine a night.
Wow.
And it was becoming a nightly thing, right?
Been there.
Right?
I've been there. And I was making wine.
Yes.
And fortifying it.
Yeah.
But that's another story, But yeah, when instead of doing 4 bottles, you know, we threw a little bit of liquor to get it quicker, so to speak.
Sure, exactly.
And yeah,
Well, and the coffee and Baileys. Oh, I've got a busy day, or I've got that was a hard meeting. I'm just going to have a little bit of Baileys in my coffee, or, oh, it's lunchtime. Oh, I can have a beer and 4, go back to work. And you did. You did. I did. I did frequently. So it was not good at all. And thankfully, my circumstance came to be that it was time. It was just, you can't do this. You know, take a look around. You're choosing your drug of choice, which is mine was alcohol, over the relationships that you have with the people who actually care about you. And that was consistent. I actually went to Toronto to visit my best friend in February, and I quit in July of last year. So I'm just coming up on 1 year.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
1 year.
Yeah, not a super long time, but certainly past due. I think that's relatable. It's a past due scenario where you wake up and you go, God, I should have done this a really long time ago. And why didn't I? But on that trip, my best friend, who, you know, we've been best friends for almost a quarter of a century, actually more than a quarter of a century. I ended up staying up late in her apartment, drinking by myself. And she was going to call me out on that, how uncomfortable that made her, how triggering that was for her, because she went through an abusive situation as a kid where drinking by yourself was definitely a sign of a big, big problem. And she was very uncomfortable with it. And no, I'm glad I had an opportunity after I quit to say, I'm sorry, you know, to realize that choosing your drug of choice over the people who love you is an awful feeling for them. Like, not just for you, but for them, you know?
And, you know, I think it's important, really important to point out that I've had a few people on the program now, and very, very well educated people. This is not a situation where people always came from broken homes with no education. And I just wanted to probably point out too, I'm betting things got more out of control as the price of oil climbs as well, right? Because we've all lived through those scenarios in this province where, you know, $5,000 a table at the Stampede and whatever the situation was. When we hit the boom times, I never saw anything like that in BC or Ontario. But in this province, when it was good, everything flowed, everything. So that did not help our situation at all either. So when you were talking about why didn't I do it sooner, I'm guessing some of that came into play because we were all, you know, after Ralph Klein.
Living high.
We were living high. Baby.
We were living high.
And everyone was making bacon and the sun was shining. And
it was very acceptable.
Rocky Mountain way.
Yeah. Well, and it's very acceptable. It's very acceptable. Yeah. Right. And, you know, I think I definitely have benefited being older. I don't believe that if I was in my mid-30s building my career, that I would have been able to stay sober in the way that I can now. And I think there's 2 reasons for that. I think one, being in my mid-40s, I'm very comfortable with myself.
Finally.
Right?
When you hit 40,
When
45.
you hit 40. I call it my fuck it 40s.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can swear on this program.
Sure.
But you hit your fuck it 40s and you're not so concerned about what everybody else is doing, thinking of you, right?
You're finally comfortable with your own body and who you are. They say life begins at 40, and I experienced that myself. I'm 59. And yeah, I finally got to relax
Yeah.
a little bit. I was still in my addiction, but I felt what you're experiencing as well, what you're talking about.
Yeah. I think a big thing about sobriety is truly being comfortable with yourself. It's also the hardest thing.
Because now without an external substance, that's a whole new level. And we were talking about that when we were talking about the sex factor.
Yeah. Yes.
So when you're having, alcohol and the substances, and you meet people and nothing's a problem, you're having sex, it's not an issue. But when you sober up and there's nothing else there, and you're doing that with someone for the first time, it's like...
Or the thousandth.
Or the thousandth, which
is my situation.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit.
So I'm married. I've been with one person for the last 24 years. And we met in our early-ish 20s, and drinking was still kind of part of what we did. We would go out to the bar, we would drink. And a lot of sex that we have had has been under the influence. And it's been fun. There's no doubt about it. But when I got sober, I was genuinely concerned as to whether or not it was going to be the same. I didn't know how I would feel. I didn't know if my past experience and my past traumas were going to come out without that buffer of my drug of choice.
And that's with a known partner that you've had for 24 years. So
Yes.
It just blows me away. And thanks for talking about it, because I don't think anybody really talks about these kind of topics, and on how men don't talk about it, women don't talk about it, and it would be a cool day in hell that a man and a woman would talk about it, but we need to talk about it. Because
Absolutely.
I had no idea that females, especially with a partner that long, would be apprehensive about having sex.
Well, and I don't know if it's just me, right? But
Well, no, because
I
I've started delving into that topic with a few friends, and there's a consistency there.
there was, even though, of course, I'm very happy and comfortable with my partner, it was, did I need my DOC to be intimate? Because it was so frequent, right? There was so much hand in hand with that I wasn't sure if that was really part of me, or was it just the alcohol that was making me that way?
Well, it masks things, and not to make light of it, but, I've always kind of alluded to the fact that where do babies come from? The liquor store.
Yeah.
I mean, forget the stork, forget whatever. It's the whole seed starts at the liquor store. And if you ask 10 people whether they were common law, married, I don't care what they are, I will guarantee you, because I've done personal surveys, 8, 9, or 10 out of 10 people will say, that's how I got mine.
Yep.
So it takes down the inhibitions. We know that. Earlier we were talking about the bar scene.
Yeah.
And, we can get into that a little bit more, but I'm just amazed that with the same partner, because I would have thought that you would have been way past that. But it just goes to show the addiction creates fear.
Yes.
And a false sense of security. So when you take that away, all of a sudden we're like, we're like kids. We're just shaking in our boots on almost any experience is a first time for us.
And I can honestly tell you it was like that. It was like that for me. Not to go into any nitty gritty details or anything,
No.
but certainly through my sobriety journey, there were times where I was like, what if it actually is me? And how I feel is because of the alcohol. What if sober me would never do those things? And of course, there's adages. So a drunk mind speaks a sober heart, or and I said it, I wouldn't do anything drunk that I wouldn't do sober. But when you're actually faced with sobriety, and not just a day or a week, or maybe your particular situation is that you're a binge drinker and really you only binge drink on the weekends or when you go on holiday or what have you. Facing like what I feel of lifelong sobriety, it was scary. It was scary that first time for me. I wasn't sure if I was going to feel the same way. Luckily.
And did your husband know?
At the time, no. We did talk about it after.
And did it only last like?
After I got through that first time, for me,
Then you were okay.
then I was okay. It was like, oh, no, okay. No, I'm still very much enjoying my intimacy.
Right.
I am very much enjoying this. It's not the alcohol that was making it happen for me, but it was a legitimate concern.
For sure.
Right?
Sure.
And that was a relief. Really, that was a relief because the alternative would have been quite poor. Right?
Well, not only that, but the effects of your relationship, which there are already many when you're going through all the emotions of being so raw and present.
Yeah.
And that's what people, the drunk us doesn't realize what the sober present person experiencing feelings and all of these things for the first time, really.
Yeah.
Because even if we would have experienced them 25 years ago, those feelings would have been stuffed and well forgotten by then.
Absolutely.
We don't even know who those people are anymore.
Yeah. Or are you stunted?
Exactly.
That's the other thought. Well, I've kind of been this way for the last 25 years. Am I mature? Am I not? Am I a good person? Am I not? You definitely lose your sense of self, I think, right before you decide that it's time. And for whatever reason that you decide, right? Often it's an external reason. There's some external catalyst that says, it's time. You got to stop, right?
Yeah, well, funny that you say that, because again, another theme that seems to be rearing up, and I've heard it multiple times before, is you've got to do it for yourself. But what you're saying, we'll get into it in a minute. People are telling me, one gentleman's mother was dying of cancer, and she said, I really would like to see you clean up and straighten up before I pass. So mothers, spouses, children can be a driving factor. What was your external force?
Mine was my spouse.
Your spouse.
Mine was my spouse. We had grown apart, and not to speak for him, but I think it's really important to point out that to go back to my earlier comment on choosing your addiction over the people that care for you, it's very isolating for them, right?
Well, because we're shutting them out.
Because we're shutting them out, right? You sit there and your loved ones are saying, can you just come and do this with me? And you say, no, I'm going to have a drink. Or no, I'd rather use my DOC. And then what happens? You don't end up doing that thing, right? So it's very hurtful, right? And I think that's one of the most difficult things to deal with in sobriety is the guilt that goes along with the sobriety. Not only are you dealing with your reasons that you used, right? And a lot of the time it's centered in some kind of trauma, but sometimes your addiction is your trauma, right?
Oh,
it doesn't necessarily have to be that, oh, well, something happened when I was a kid or this happened and this started. It could be just your drug became your trauma, right?
Or maybe in your case, I'm guessing stress from the career, a lot of pressure. Being the CFO of an oil company is, let's face it, like, I mean, you're the top dog. People are expecting a good performance. And, you know, when the price of oil goes up, yahoo. But when it goes down, you know,
now what?
Grr.
Yeah.
And then they're looking to you for answers.
Yeah. And you don't always have them.
No.
And that goes for anything, right? You know, I have sexual trauma in my past. And that started with, you know, that kind of started my use of alcohol, you know, to not deal with that. But or if I might, you didn't know how. Didn't know how.
Didn't know. So when we find that, we think we found an answer. There you go. We can be numb and we don't have to feel this anymore. Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Right?
Never solves the problem.
No, but we didn't know that.
No. And I would say about 4 months sober, going through a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, right? Trying to build a new relationship with my husband. And all of those things, right, that I would have used alcohol to numb, I didn't. And the biggest realization for me at that point was, holy shit, all of my reasons for drinking were complete bullshit.
Well, I don't mean to laugh, but they are. But.
You know, because if you're using your drug of choice to be numb, right, or to so-called deal with the situation that it feels untenable that you can't deal with, to not have that and have the realization and the strength. And I think this is where it gets, you know, being comfortable with yourself that you can do this. At least for me, I quickly realized that alcohol served no purpose other than to hurt myself and the people around me. Like, that was it. Because I'm going through more stress, more difficulty, more at this stage of my life than I ever did in my 30s. And I'm sober. There's nothing that I couldn't handle at this point. Sober. And it's a freeing experience. It's unbelievably powerful to realize that you didn't need it, and it's okay. And it's okay to crave it. It's okay to feel like you're not doing well. But man, to realize that you can actually pull yourself out of it, that's powerful. That's super person powerful. You can get addicted to that feeling, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand exactly what you're saying. When you first realized and started sobering up, were you ever afraid that too much damage had been done to your relationship?
I still am.
You are?
I am.
Although, I'm guessing if you've made it this far through your first year, things are getting better.
I hope so. But
You're more present. You have to be.
I am more present.
And you're aware of,
The harm that it did.
but not only that, but you're aware, like you're experiencing joy, you're present,
Yeah.
you're working on things instead of burying them,
100%.
right?
But part of that work also is recognizing it might be too late. That's a difficult thing to deal with, right? I
We
hear
do a lot of damage that you can't just fix in a week or two or a day.
right. Even though
That's
you're
true.
strong and you feel like you can, right? I feel like Superwoman when I overcome a difficulty sober now, right? Like I said, you can get addicted to that feeling. But part of being comfortable and being able to live with yourself sober, I think is two things. And I hear it when I'm talking with people in a group. And I do hear it typically from younger people who are in their sobriety journey, that there could be a tendency to martyr yourself. Oh, everything was my fault. Oh, I ruined everything. Right? And really take that in and pile on the guilt, which makes it a heck of a lot harder to be sober. So for me, I can take accountability and responsibility for the harm that I've caused, but I also have to respect the people that are around me, that if there's been too much harm and they don't want me in their life, that I have to respect that. Not take it on and make me miserable, but accept it. Right?
And there's a difference, because the other part of that in learning to let go is sort of realizing the fact that we were insane. And although it sounds like a bit of a cop-out, it's true. We weren't in our right minds. Nobody thinks that kind of thinking is normal. So that when we were doing, committing the crimes, we were not of our right minds. And that doesn't make it okay. But, even Jesus came off the cross, right?
Yes.
So
someone needs the wood.
Yeah, exactly.
Off the cross.
We can make amends.
Yeah.
We can clean up our side of the street as best we can. We can't change the past, but we can't regret it either, because what's done is done.
And learning how to accept that is a big hurdle, right?
It is.
It is. And I
is.
think it comes with just being comfortable with yourself, right? I think there's a couple of kind of scenarios that I think of. I'm very LGBTQ ally, 100%.
Okay.
But if I'm around somebody who isn't, I have a choice as to whether or not I can accept that or not accept it. And
Does this come up often for you?
I worked for a large company, and I was actually their Pride at Work leader for Canada.
Oh, okay.
And so there was a lot of discussion around it. So I got a very much a closer view of what allyship was, right? And working for a large worldwide company, you get exposed to a lot of different people from a lot of different areas. And not everybody is as accepting, right?
My feeling about it is majority of people.
The majority of people don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly.
That's basically it, because there's no shock factor anymore.
Yeah.
You can shave your head, you can tattoo, you can pierce this, pierce that. You want to be with a guy, a girl, a guy that wants to dress like a girl. You do you.
Yeah.
I just think most people are grow a little bit tired of it being so, where, okay, you want to hold hands and wear pink and go walk your dog where I'm walking my dog. Go for it, man. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I don't need to be saying anything but, hey, how you doing? And walking by and.
Well, and that's the thing, is that that's a very easy, I think, example of that a lot of people who are listening will probably relate to, because they'll feel one way or another. Right.
I think most people
would
in
understand
general
that, right?
Are just
You know?
like, don't really try to, put it in my face.
Yep.
And
I think being sober, you'll run into people like that, right? And you might run in, these might be friends that were your drinking buddies or your using buddies, right? It could be people you've just met that now you have to say that you're sober in however way that you phrase it. And you might get questions.
A
right?
lot of people are afraid, just as afraid of coming out of the closet, so to speak, with sobriety, as the gay movement is afraid of coming out to admit. And I mean, I can see it because there would be judgment. I mean, I own my own company and I don't broadcast it to customers. If people ask me about it, I'm not ashamed.
Yep.
But you always kind of wonder what the reaction's going to be. Most people are fairly positive, but you always wonder, are they thinking? What are they thinking? What are they thinking? Is there a trust factor?
Or
Gone?
I think the worst thought that I had was, okay, so is the immediate perception, how bad was it? How you had to quit?
Yeah.
How bad was it? And I think the important thing is that people's reasons for sobriety, it doesn't necessarily mean that it was actually a problem for you, but you can choose to be sober because that's what you want. My cousin actually has been sober for many, many years. He didn't have a problem. He just said, I don't want this.
In my case, it was a huge problem.
And in my case, it was too.
But people thought that I was still functioning, even though emotionally I was a wreck.
Yeah.
But I was able to put the persona on that everything was okay, but I was not performing properly at work. If I was going to be really honest, I shouldn't have been driving the next morning. I would have still been way over the legal limit.
Oh, yeah.
I was pushing the boundaries, but because I was in the profession I am, doing HVAC, I went to the office once a week, handed in my receipts. The customers were basically, you look after them. So, I go up on a roof or a mechanical room, whatever the situation is, and there was very little contact.
Mm-hmm.
So, a nod, yep, you're going to give me the keys, where you go. So I played that for all it was worth.
Yep.
And then I came to the realization myself, thank God, because it could have went really bad if I would have been pulled over. I mean, I would have been done. Would have been done.
Yep. And that's, I think you're very fortunate if your catalyst isn't something that is completely detrimental to your life, right? I would hate to have had to become sober because I was drinking and driving, or killed somebody doing that, or lost my job, lost my career. I feel very fortunate that I was able to avoid that. That's not to say that there isn't potential for the loss, but I think it goes back to how you deal with it. I cannot force the people who were around me while I was in the middle of my addiction, and particularly in the past or in the last couple of years when it was quite bad, I can't force their forgiveness. I can't force their acceptance, right? At the end of the day, I have to accept that my behavior was bad. And I also have to respect if they have a boundary. And that boundary might not include me. But I have my own boundaries too, right? If you and I met and you were pressuring me to have a drink because you didn't understand sobriety, nor did you respect it, nor did you care. But you were pressuring me to drink. That's my boundary. I should be able to walk away from you.
Oh yeah, I've
Right?
never found that.
You should not get angry with me for that. Right?
No.
And that's the thing, is that it goes both ways. It goes both ways. And you have to be comfortable with yourself and respect yourself enough to realize that, hey, it might not turn out the way that you want it to, but the decision to stay sober was the right one, and stay that course, right? You can feel bad for how you behaved. You can feel bad for how you impacted the people around you. At the same time, at some point, you do have to move beyond that. Otherwise, you're going to get sucked back into your addiction. You won't be able to deal with it because you're just heaping guilt on yourself and more and more and more. The weight of the world is not solely on your shoulders. You can take responsibility and accountability for how you behaved without reliving it.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we're going to have to end this show, but we're going to let you come back next week and finish it off.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Tara. That's all we have for today, so we'll see you next week.